Do you know the definition of insanity? The infamous line from Far Cry 3's cover star unintentionally catapulted the Far Cry franchise into the stratosphere of popularity. Though many gamers claim that Far Cry 3 was the beginning of a downward spiral in creativity, Far Cry 3 became the template for all its sequels that would follow. Lush locales full of nameless goons ready to be slaughtered by a variety of weapons and techniques, including utilizing local wildlife, became a series' staple until the developers had to go above and beyond in hopes of outdoing the near impossible. With a new, incredibly recognizable, and charismatic antagonist running the country on fear and pain, it's up to the player to take control of a former soldier in their quest to start a true revolution alongside their country's people. Being a fan of the franchise, including playing its multiple spin-offs, I was definitely excited to see if this latest entry could reinvigorate the series without reinventing the wheel. Unlike the last two Far Cry experiences, the player controls a set character named Danny Rojas, a former soldier who wants to be more than just a number, existing on the fictional island of Yara. The Cuba-inspired land is under the tyrannical thumb of a mesmerizing president, Anton Castillo, played by Juan Carlo Esposito. Yara contains a copious amount of things Danny and the various resistant groups must take down to make the island a safer place for those looked down upon as lesser than or Yaran transplants, including military bases, highway checkpoints, intercepting supply drops, and blowing up anti-aircraft missiles. Beyond all the crazy action and various activities like fishing and hunting are the prototypical Far Cry and Ubisoft open-world game staples, including many different collectibles ranging from USB drives containing songs, boxes housing roosters for cockfighting, and certain chests that can be only opened by finding a pair of pictures, usually placed in inconvenient areas. After nearly 45 hours on action difficulty, the one of only two difficulty options with the other being story, I finished the main story, all the side stories, gathered all the necessary collectibles, including 49 unique weapons, conquered every outpost and checkpoint, and took part in the game's online aspects, including working with another player to conquer a military base and complete the special operation mission involving retrieving a nuclear device that must stay cool to avoid risk of explosion and failing the mission. After completing a series of tasks involving taking down 3 insurgency leaders that are only available after finishing all the main missions, I was able to attain my latest Far Cry Platinum trophy. After blowing up the world in Far Cry 5 and showcasing the aftermath with the non-canon sequel New Dawn, the developers opted to go back to the exotic locales featuring dictators trying to subdue oppressed people looking to start their own revolution. Set in the Cuba-inspired land of Yara, the player controls either a male or a female version of Danny Rojas. Danny's dream to leave Yara after serving its military and making it to Miami is cut off by none other than the man causing so much pain throughout Yara for those looked at as fake Yarans, Anton Castillo. Danny is left for dead only to wash ashore on an island housing the revolutionary faction Libertad, who are looking to obliterate Castillo's regime. Thanks to some interesting aesthetic choices, including presenting Danny from a third-person perspective during cutscenes, and thankfully showcasing El Presidente and his cover star son Diego via reactionary footage instead of simply hearing their voices through a radio, as seen in almost every Far Cry game since 2, 6's story has a more personal, intimate feel, even in the middle of a war. The supplementary characters like El Tigre add a nice layer of humor to an otherwise serious narrative that is arguably the best overall story following Far Cry 2. Libertad's goal is complemented by what has become the series' now stereotypical formula of entering areas, killing enemies in a variety of ways if the player sees fit, and moving on to the next mission. Guns are plentiful both in types and offerings in terms of modifications, while the gunplay isn't out of the ordinary in regards to the genre, with weighty, appropriate feeling and sounding firearms. The gameplay addition of gun modifications is welcomed. by entering a workbench with a bunch of craftable items found throughout Yara and earned when completing missions, overtaking military targets, and the like. Players can build and attach things like suppressors or extended clips so a pistol can hold more ammo. Ammo also gets an upgrade in presentation. Both Danny and Yara's finest soldiers sport a variety of ammo options, including armor-piercing and hollow-point bullets, perfect for sniper rifles. A player can use poison rounds in their pistol that will not only cause enemies to vomit, but also may infect them and turn the sick adversaries against one another, similar to what is seen in Far Cry Primal. Unfortunately for players, mods can't be added or removed when away from a workbench, and having only 4 weapon slots means gamers will have to plan accordingly before going into battle, though players can change their loadout at any time. Though ammo mod sounds like a good idea, the truth is armor-piercing rounds are better than anything else available, and are the go-to ammo from the beginning of the game. The most noticeable addition to 6's combat is the Supremo Backpack. The Supremo Backpack houses 4 slots for projectiles like grenades, molotovs, and even a baseball for distraction purposes, as well as a separate special ability. Each Supremo Backpack is different in what it provides. The first Supremo shoots homing rockets across the battlefield, while another can dispense 3 clouds of poisonous gas. One of the best Supremo Backpacks is the health-based Medico, that has the ability to revive Danny when downed while producing a health-restoring mist for a short period of time, practically making Rojas invincible. Like weapons, the mods that can be added to Supremos, like making health restoration activate faster, and what projectiles will be available in Danny's inventory when in combat, can only be changed at the workbench. But players can switch out backpacks for one another at any time when moving throughout Yara. Taking a page out of New Dawn's weapon presentation playbook is resolver weapons. These special items that can be bought alongside Supremos are definitely unique in the right ways, such as a fireworks rocket launcher, a gun that shoots electric bolts that explodes enemies, and a pistol shield combination, though the resolver weapons don't necessarily take gunplay in combat to another level like Supremos. The fact there are fun options to mix things up when it gets too rudimentary with the average weapons is a nice touch. Both Supremo and resolver weapons are only bought with drained uranium, solely attained in anti-aircraft areas. There are also unique weapons usually found in the game's treasure hunt missions, or simply located throughout Yara. These unique guns come with pre-assigned mods that can't be removed, making them less appealing than just modifying the standard weapons to a player's liking. Stealth options are still available. Due to Danny's machete that works great for silent kills, but not so much when the player is looking to melee someone, especially when the target can kick Rojas down even if the player is swinging their blade beforehand. The enemy AI is both impressive in terms of having ridiculous aim and sight lines, and incredibly easy to pick off both up close and from afar by walking together in clusters of straight lines, and even blowing themselves up when shooting off a rocket, even when Danny is literally 3 inches in front of his foe. There's also a heat system that, when reaching the 2nd level, produces special forces enemies that sport greater armor and more powerful guns, though armor-piercing bullets makes them less than special, as it does pretty much every adversary in the game. In an effort to present artificial difficulty in regards to the AI foes is the return of New Dawn's rank system. Depending on the area, missions and enemies are leveled according to the number seen on the in-game map. If Danny is 2 or 3 levels lower than the suggested level, enemies will take little to no damage, even when being shot in the head without a helmet. Thankfully, the rank system is a lot more forgiving than it was in New Dawn, with the experience points rolling in fairly quickly to keep Danny either near or even above the recommended level if the player is taking part in side quests, outpost takeovers, and simply playing through the story. The Guns for Hire feature from Far Cry 5 is gone, with the developers opting to return to Primal's buddy system, now known as Amigos. Featuring up to 5 animal friends, Danny can summon them into combat, all sporting different abilities, though all but one, the 2-legged dog Chorizo, good for finding items when traveling and distracting enemies when in combat, pretty much do the same thing by attacking foes until they succeed or are downed. Unlike the human companions from the other games, amigos can't revive Danny when the protagonist is down, reducing their usefulness in a grand firefight. With Danny being a soldier, the developers decided to remove the game's skill tree in favor of giving him perks and abilities via gear. Like weapons, gear can be purchased, found in chests, or earned with mission completion. Depending on the gear, Danny may have better defenses against specific bullets or be able to sprint longer. A great perk because Rojas can barely run for 3 seconds without getting winded. The player can mix and match gear to fit their needs, or equip a full set to assist in helping Danny complete a goal, like making it easier to fish. Players who loved being a superpowered monster by the end of a Far Cry game will be disappointed, but the change does allow for the difficulty to stay throughout the experience. There are several more in-game systems, including guerrilla camp construction, a la what was seen in Primal. Constructing and upgrading certain buildings like the Bandito Barrack will present more purchasable gear for Danny, or a meal hut that provides cooked food for temporary buffs, such as being more protected against poison for 6 real-time hours. There are multiple mini-games, ranging from cockfighting to dominoes, not to mention the Far Cry staples of timed races and hunting legendary animals. Bandito's operations also work in real time, as players can send unseen banditos into Yara for resources and money. Co-op play returns when playing through the story. The joining player, though, doesn't earn progress, be it narratively or in regards to the trophies and achievements. The optional co-op expeditions mode from New Dawn gets a new coat of paint as special operations, where the player or players must infiltrate a specific map and attain a nuclear device that can't get too hot or it will explode. Water dispensers are scattered around these special operation maps, but so are enemies ready to shoot the thieves. Special operations are definitely a nice diversion once, though the lack of maps and mission diversity, even with the addition of separate difficulty levels after finishing the map once, makes it an experience that is only worth spending an hour or two playing with or without an ally. Technically, Far Cry 6 is one of the better offerings compared to its predecessors. The visuals and audio are fantastic, including a stellar soundtrack, ranging from contemporary artists like Nitty Scott to featuring more known songs like Livin' La Vida Loca. Frame rate drops were pretty much non-existent even on a base PS4, but stability was a problem, including hard crashes, graphical glitches like enemies getting stuck in rocks, and NPCs refusing to move in hopes of advancing a story mission. 6's biggest problem, though, is enemy spawning. Clearing an area of foes and walking a good 20 feet away can see that dead enemy pop right back up in the same spot they were killed. This problem can be detrimental or simply annoying, or both, depending on the mission. Far Cry 6 is a Far Cry game if there ever was one, by following the Far Cry 3 formula with some better implementations, including arguably the franchise's best story and weapon mods. But those positives don't remove the feeling of been there, done that, coupled by unnecessary additions and subtractions, like ammo variety and guns for higher human AI buddies respectively. There is no denying that Far Cry 6 is more of the same in the best way possible in regards to a Far Cry game. The gunplay and combat is mostly always exciting, even if the enemy AI isn't the most intelligent, and things like AI companions has been reduced. 6's story, while it won't win any Best of awards, is surprisingly good, with the main antagonist getting more screen time than his recently celebrated predecessors. Fans of the franchise following Far Cry 3, or even new players who are new to the series, will most likely enjoy this expansive experience if they like open-world, first-person shooters, but only if they get the game when it's on sale. Players who have grown tired of the Far Cry and even the Ubisoft games' formula will discover nothing here to change their mind on how sick they are of essentially doing the same thing for the past decade. That is, unless causing mayhem with a bloodthirsty rooster while Latin metal plays in the background sounds like a great time worth $60.
Lefty.
Por supuesto. Chicharrón gets what chicharrón wants.
He sure does.